Let the game begin. Welcome to Listen to Reality. We had 6 people emulate a reality competition show, and now it's finally time to hear what happened, purely from their perspective. Each of them will get 1 episode to explain their game and their decisions without knowing whether they won. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so for this episode, we've got Noah. Hello, Noah.
Hey,
How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah. So,
Um,
yeah. Anyways, you're a pretty avid org player. What's your experience with orgs?
my experience with orgs is I started in the year 2014 on a site called 10 Gauge.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
I've been playing them for a while on that site, and I only recently moved to playing Discord-driven orgs this year for the most part. So while I'm experienced with other sites, it's not as much with Discord, but I still have a fair amount of experience with
Sure,
orcs.
sure. Do you play like a variety of different games, or?
I used to play mostly Survivor and Big Brother, but recently that has shifted to the challenge. I mostly play orgs in that sphere, like based on the show MTV's The Challenge.
Okay. So yeah, about like I'd say maybe like 2 3 weeks before this thing happened, I went to and like, hey, we're gonna play an org. It's like a week long. It's not a format you've played. It's a pod. It's gonna be a podcast, and you were willing to jump in. Thanks for that. But
Yeah.
anyways, going into it, first of all, I didn't tell you much, obviously, but
Yeah.
what were you expecting going into the game?
I have no idea what I was expecting. I was expecting something very social. I knew I was probably fucked going in because my whole point with these games is I do the challenges mostly and I play some politics, but I can be a total dick and like it's still fine. Here, it's all social. So I was kind of drawing dead the second I walked in there.
Hmm.
But I was expecting some like social manipulation games or whatever things of this sort. Like I predicted almost what the second game would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any sort of strategy going into it? Obviously, and another thing, I didn't tell you how it worked at all until like an hour before. But yeah, did you have any
Uh,
strategy going in?
okay, so I definitely went in with a very shitty strategy. I wanted to, I didn't really want to make alliances, and I just wanted to play like this. I wanted to like game the games and like
Hmm.
play rational, and like we're all selfish individuals and etc. I didn't realize that people were gonna play this more like it was a Survivor or Big Brother and make personal connections,
Mhm.
and I got beat to the punch when it came to those.
All right, yeah. So cool. So starting the game, was there anyone you got along with right away?
Sloth, but I immediately clocked that this person was the sloth was talking to everyone.
Hmm.
They ran up into my DMs. They were like very chatty, very like, and after very little conversation, they were like, "You're my ride or die. We're gonna ride this thing out." And I was like, "Yeah, you're probably full of shit," but I let it happen for a second. And yeah, no one else I really, really talked to or connected with right at the beginning. I did later with one other person, which you
Sure.
might know who it is. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I connect. Sloth was really the only person I'd connected with on day one.
Hmm.
It turns out, I think Sloth really connected with everyone, but that was just how it started for me. I think.
Hmm. Interesting. And then on the opposite end, was there anyone you really didn't get along with right away?
Um, Not right away.
Hmm.
Um, But I was immediately going to be suspicious of TN because TN knew everybody coming in. We all
Sure.
pretty much did not know each other, from what I gathered, except TN knew like 4 of us. I didn't really know TN I don't know TN too well. I still don't.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd seen him around in servers, so he was the only one I was remotely familiar with.
Mhm.
But that wasn't going to be something I was going to let influence me or make him my ride or die. I wanted to go elsewhere when it came to that.
Sure. All right, so yeah, we've talked about going into the game a bit. Now we're just gonna go over each round, and the biggest thing is we want to see it from your perspective. And
Right.
so we're gonna start with round one. Which round one was like day one. I told you it's greed. There were up to 11 points up for grabs. Whoever took the most gets nothing, and whoever took the least doubled their score.
Yes.
So, what did you
Um,
do that whole round? Yeah.
yeah, so I'd like to preface the whole thing by saying that there's going to be much less for rounds 4, 5, and 6 than there are for 1, 2, and 3. After number 3, I was kind of checked out a bit, so we'll get to that. But like, I just want to say there's probably going to be a lot more for the starting than the ending.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Um, so in episode 1, I immediately was like, okay, um, I don't know if I really want to take a risk here. And if we're all not going to talk to each other, it's going to be a risk to do anything big or small or what have you. But I realized that the way the game is played, if everyone goes for 1 point, nobody benefits from deviating from that. Because if you go higher, then you're just going to get then you're just going to have the least, you're going to have the most, and you're going to lose and you're going to get 0.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if any group tried to deviate from it, someone would always have to be the sucker in the group. So what I did was I was like, immediately, I was like, hey, let's just all go for fucking 1. Let's just like move past this game, and then because we all didn't know each other at that point either. We got in and the game was right there. So we were like, okay, let's all go for 1, and then let's do something. We can figure out how to gain these things in the future. So that's the way I was looking at it.
All right. And what did you go for with greed? You've kind of been
I did go for
you
1
did
because
go.
I knew that I didn't know if anyone else was going for higher.
Mm-hmm.
I like had talks about considering suckering someone else into it, but I didn't think it was worth it that early.
Mm-hmm.
Sloth was very team chaos and wanted to try something like that, and I was like, no. Um, I've only known these people for under 24 hours. I'm not going to pull some big ass power move by trying to change the game episode 1. So I was like, let me remain on even footing with everyone else after the first episode, which is where I thought I was. I have no idea if I was or not, but um, let me remain on even footing with everyone else and see how it goes from there.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that was pretty much all that happened episode one. I did notice you were leading a lot of the charge of like just go for 1, and
Mm-hmm.
whether that happened or not, we'll find out eventually. But
Yep.
if you don't have anything else, we're gonna move on to round 2, which,
Mm-hmm.
as a reminder, that was get the word across. Each of you had
Yeah.
a different phrase to say to everyone else in DMs, and you also got one guess on everyone's phrases. So,
Mm-hmm.
what did you do for that round?
Okay, so this round is where I started politically shooting myself in the foot. I thought that we were all going to, because the way the points worked, I thought that if anyone guesses your phrase, they essentially get the point from you. So it wasn't worth it to actually give them your phrase. It was worth it. It was worth it to try and like fuck them over in some way. I didn't realize that other players were giving each other um, their phrases and like exchanging them as signs of trust. I thought that we all would have realized that the correct strategy for the most points would be to DM everyone a list of a fuck ton of phrases, um, and hope that they would not guess correctly, which is what I eventually did. But apparently, Tim and I were the only ones to do so, and that got us in hot water, creating an alliance of 4 between the other 4 players. Um, I originally had the idea of doing that big list early on in the day and then blocking everybody else that you did not allow that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, just block them so they can't send me their phrase and get the point. Like
It's a
that's how
really interesting loophole for it, but
it
yeah,
would have worked too. I mean,
it it definitely would have, but yeah, I don't. My issue with that would be like, would it like obviously if you block them, they can't say it to you, but would it be something like they can't see the messages you've sent, so they don't have a shot to guess yours in the first place? Was
no, they could still see the messages you sent.
yeah. Um, but yeah,
So I could just send,
generally,
I could just spam them like 100 times and then just like block them.
yeah,
I feel like
totally. But yeah,
that
and
was what.
yeah, it was really casual, so I didn't make like a rules channel. But I think most orgs don't usually allow blocking, so that's kind of where I went off for that. But
Oh no, you can
it
block
was a very
people.
interesting loophole. But,
Yeah, no, like I could block anybody in these other games if I wanted to, but like
oh really?
yeah, I mean yeah, oh yeah, like you don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. But what is it? Yeah, I mean obviously you were gonna like that would have broke the game, so you were gonna say no. I mean I tried,
No,
whatever.
yeah,
Um
I totally respect that. It's completely worth trying.
yeah, so what is it from the other players? So what I mean before I even put my list together, I got Tim's, which was like 100 different, unique, carefully picked out phrases, and he was like DMing to me, so I guess wrong, and then like what is it compared to the others? The others didn't put that much effort into tricking me. I think Tien just gave me his phrase. The others weren't puzzles, kind of weren't that good. And apparently they were all sharing with each other anyways. So round two is the round where I really came to start talking to Tim and start respecting Tim more than anybody else in the group.
Okay.
Um, yeah. At the end of the round, um, was we're going back and forth here. The way I actually started talking to Tim was, Sloth said to me that the other four have made an alliance against you and Tim to because you two wouldn't share with everyone else. That took me aback because I'm like, why would you share with anyone else? And I talked to Tim about it too, and it also took him aback. He was like, why the hell like would you share? It makes no sense the way the
Yeah.
points are, because if someone else guesses your phrase, then you don't get the point.
Mhm.
So it didn't really make sense to actually share. So Sloth was like playing really hard, really fast for some reason, and was like, "Hey, let me be double agent, and let's be in a like." It was my idea that we do a three, but Sloth was like, "Let me be double agent, like get information from them, and like think that that's going to work out the whole game." And spoiler, it didn't, because I knew that Sloth would just rack up all the points, and that would be total bullshit. So I didn't let that happen, but at the end of the round, a three was formed between myself, Sloth, and Tim to counter the four between Sloth, Ray, Tien, and Kane.
So let's move on to round three then. So reminder, round three was the prisoner's dilemma, with
Yep,
you
I
have to
remember.
decide whether you'll split or steal with all of the other players, and that's how you get points. So what did you do for round three?
Okay, so the way I went into round three viewing it was like a game theorist. In Prisoner's Dilemma, it's always better, points wise, to steal, kind of. Like, if I were to share with the other person, um and they were to steal from me, they'd get 4 points. If I shared and they shared two, they would still get two more points than they would have gotten had I stolen. Either way, sharing just gives someone else points. I thought if we're all playing like rational individualist game players and not this annoying alliance trust bullshit, we're all going to steal anyways.
Uh-huh.
I did not realize that people were playing this game in a weird like alliance deal type way. And I also thought that like if even if I had these alliances and I told people I was going to share, I would have stolen anyways. So I don't understand what the hell anyone would have been doing with sharing, but I got the vibe that that was going to happen. That led to the blow up. That led in part to the blow up. Um, something else I also missed was that Tim and I were going to talk to Sloth about all sharing, and we had a potential plan to like um if Sloth came to us and wanted to share, we had the plan to tell each other that sorry, it's hard to explain. We had the plan to both tell Sloth that we didn't trust each other and that we were going to check our points after the round
Hmm.
to in order to get Sloth to be forced into splitting with us.
Ah,
Um
interesting.
yeah. We Tim and I both talked the round about episode 2 and we both said that we lied to Sloth about what our actual phrase was and each other because it would have made no sense to.
Hmm.
And and we both also agreed in round 3 that it would be stupid of us to share, even though we could get more points that way if we both did. It wouldn't happen being individual players. So we were like, we'll both steal. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. That's when I really came to like I respect Tim more than anybody fucking else because he was the only one who was like upfront and thinking with the same logic I was. I felt
Hmm.
like.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so the blow up happened because I didn't think our plan was ever going to work. Sloth wasn't approaching us about potentially splitting. And quite frankly, I felt that a bunch of splitting was going to happen on the other side, which was going to screw Tim and I points wise.
Hmm.
So I was just like, fuck it. Let me let me go and like blow up the entire game in the house chat.
Hmm. Now, I will say that was probably the most dramatic moment of it's of the season. Looking through the
Yeah,
game
I
chat, I think it's probably. I mean, it's probably like a good third of the actual game chat. I want to say. I don't know.
maybe
Yeah.
more like because I was just like, I'm fed up with this obvious bullshit. Let
Hmm.
me just put everything on the table and see if I can get people to distrust each other and maybe not split points. And then it turned around on me. So
Yeah.
that kind of,
Yeah. It
which was
happens
weird
sometimes.
because I was like maybe the least shady person on this cast, I
Hmm.
feel like. So I don't understand why the hell it all turned around on me. Maybe it's because I was the instigator. I don't know. But like,
Hmm.
I felt like everyone should have been coming to me because I would have the least points by the end game, and no one ever really did besides Tim.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So just to confirm, for Prisoner's Dilemma, what did you end up doing?
Oh, yes. Um, at that point, after the blow up, or maybe before the blow up, I don't even know when I don't even remember when I made the decision, to be quite honest with you, but I was like, fuck it. I'm not winning this because there's no way I have the social chops for this shit.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like, fuck it. Let me steal from everybody else and let me just give Tim 4 points because I respect him. That was the way I was viewing it. I was like, I just prefer Tim to everyone else so much that I just shared with him to give him 4 points.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Well, so that was round three. And as you said at the beginning, you think this part might not have as much content, but we will
Yes.
see. To be fair, the
Hmm.
last three challenges were more like socially based and less
Yeah.
strategical decisions. But anyways, round four was ranking each other.
Yeah. I
And
knew I was drawing dead with that
the
one.
timing,
But
yeah, your timing there. Yeah, but anyways, what did you do that round? What was your logic with the rankings
well,
you did?
I mean, first off, for me, I knew I probably wasn't winning the game, so I just ranked everyone in order of who I respected most to least,
Okay.
and said those are going to be how I get the points away. But my hope was there was a chance I could still be in the game because people would screw each other over enough thinking I was low to rank me high, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Um, I I also made a plan with Sloth and Tim. I was like, the other three are probably going to rank each other pretty high. Why don't we just rank each other top um top three and we'll counter it. At least at the very least, we'll be on par with them if they're ranking us bottom three and we're ranking them bottom three.
Mhm.
Based on the points I got, I doubt that actually happened.
Mhm.
Or maybe it did, and I just got the bottom end from every single person, and that's just how it happened. But I was hoping that either A, people would screw each other over, um, and uh, it would maybe boost me up, or people would or the sloth Tim and I thing would like completely counter what the other three were doing. I was obviously wrong, and not neither of those things panned out, most likely.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, that's round four. Round five, after the little challenge debacle there, it became
Yeah,
the like sort of reverse greed thing, where you have 8 points and you have to give them away. And whoever got
yeah,
the most would get zero. Another thing with round five was, I believe that was when you used your one ask, and that's when you found out
yeah.
at the time
I was fucking done.
you had
Yeah,
9 points.
like
Yep.
9 points. Yeah, at that point, because I knew other people might like, because the last round, that was like, obviously I knew I had five from that round, because if I had gotten like 10, because I think from round four it was either 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25, I
It was
believe, or it
actually
was
0, 5, 10, 15, 20.
right. But I knew I'd either gotten 0 or 5, and I
Okay.
was like, yeah, there's no way I'm 10 points behind someone. Plus, did that probably include? I probably got some points on round two. Probably about maybe 4 or maybe 9. I don't know, but I um yeah, probably around 4 actually. Um, but I knew that I was beyond screwed at that point. There was no way I was going to be able to come back from that low of a point total.
Hmm.
Um, so there was a lot of strategy going around. Mostly I talked to Tim. Sloth tried to talk to me, and I was just done with them at that point, so I just said no. Um, but yeah, like Tim was the only person in this game that I actually like respected or otherwise wanted to win, and I was like, okay, if I can't win, I'm gonna try and help Tim win.
Okay.
I told him if you I will give you all 8 points, and if you want that, because I knew it could overload him potentially. And he said yes, that he would want all 8 points from me. Um, so I did do that. He also filled me in on some of his strategy. I think he was trying to overload Ray by giving them all 8. Um, I think he did a lot to manage how many points that everyone would get. And I'm hoping that I didn't overload him and that those 8 points were actually useful for him, because that's how I played the round and
Hmm.
helping him out.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, that was round five. And then round six was a little fun game of touchy subjects, which,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know what orgs are or anything like that, it's just like you ask a bunch of questions, then you put the people on there and answer them. For example, we had like, who do you never want to play with again? They all answer that question, and then they guess who got the most answers on that. So, anyways,
Yeah.
what did you do for that round, the final round?
Um, Normally, so Tim told me he did something like he did his part one and part two answers were the same because there was no benefit um in listing your actual answers for the first part.
Hmm.
Um, but I, to be honest, wasn't in that game bot mode anymore. So for the first part, I just answered how I felt, and for the second part, I answered what I think the group would say. Like,
Yeah.
I was very honest about how I play. I didn't play it not very straight up. Like I knew I was probably the least respected person on the cast. Those are probably 3 points, but I didn't what is it? I didn't answer like that. I answered how I felt like in part one, and that's just really it. I Everyone else was trying to get Sloth actually specifically was trying to get answers out of me. I again said no.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like at one point, like you were so obvious on the first day about trying to play everyone and like yada yada, and you like told everyone you were the ride or die. I just felt, but like Sloth was the person I probably respected second most, but that's a low bar Sloth, because Sloth played so sloppy and like essentially played like the rest of us were idiots.
Hmm.
And I just didn't feel like it felt a little insulting to me that Sloth thought that they could get that buy on me. Um, so yeah, I was just like, fuck it, I'm done with everyone who's if anyone else had even tried to come to me, I would have said, screw you. Um, but yeah, Tim was the only person I respected and talked to a bit, and helped and tried to help out. But he was already doing his own thing, so he didn't really need my help. So that's just basically how the game ended for me.
Okay. So yeah, anything else you have to say about the game as a whole, or just like,
Uh,
yeah.
I would have to say I tried my best at first, and I like still finished it out. But like, I'm sorry that I couldn't be the like good, like really putting it in at the end player that you wanted. I just don't think this type of game is for a player like me. I don't know.
Sure.
Um, I tried to be very logical at the start. I I could have acted a little more social while still being a greedy dickhead. But no, I was just like, yeah, I'm a greedy dickhead. Own it. Um, I laughed a couple times when I heard that Kane and TN were freaking out in their alliance chat that I was just like, yeah, I'm stealing in the prisoner's dilemma thing. Like,
Hmm.
no one respected the honesty, I guess, with me. But
Interesting.
I was very honest. I played this game pretty straight up, and I just didn't vibe with most of this group.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Two last questions then. Actually, I guess. Well, yeah. The most important question of it all. Do you think you won?
Yes, I absolutely think I won this game, Bob. No,
Okay.
of course, I do not think I won. No.
Okay. Sure. Do you have any guesses as to who did win if you didn't?
I'm hoping Tim. I'm like, if anyone else won, just shoot me in the face. But like, um, I don't. I would really have no guess if it was Kane, Tien, or Ray because I had basically no interaction with those three.
Hmm.
Um, Tien gave away points, so I would have to say the winner is likely. I think Sloth was actually. So if I had to put a second option, I would say Ray. But I'm just gonna go with Tim because I helped him out a lot, and hopefully he was able to manipulate everyone else into getting it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for doing this. Thank you for listening to Listen to Reality. Listen to Reality is owned and produced by Open Mic Podcasts. If you like Listen to Reality and want to see more episodes, or if you like Listen to Reality and want to see what else Open Mic Podcasts has to offer, subscribe to Open Mic Podcasts on YouTube and follow Open Mic Podcasts on Spotify and Instagram. Come back 2 weeks from now for the next episode of Listen to Reality,